Alright, I'm here with fellow crewmate of mine, Protolol. He
Hello.
also. How you doing today?
Good, thanks.
And we're gonna do a deck talk with him. I've already done posted my two major decks. I've got a third deck in the works right now, but I'm gonna test a little bit before I post it. So we're gonna talk about one of his two main decks, and it's what do we call it? Mana ramp.
Yeah, it's man around that.
Okay, it's a mana ramp deck for lack of a better term. So we'll go ahead and get started. The hero he's chosen to use is Icon. And
Yeah.
go ahead and explain why you chose him over the other green heroes.
Well, actually, I chose Icon mainly for his second skill. Um, Putting two Canyon Eagles into your attack zone. One into your attack zone, one into your defense zone is a pretty nice way of gathering mana early on in the game. Especially since your opponent can't do anything about the Eagles, you just attack them next turn. I also combine it with a few creature zone shifting cards, like Intuition of Sarah or Core of Pretty Third Floor, to shift off the defense cannon unit and attack with two 2/1s instead of just one.
Yep, pretty good.
The other
Uh,
skill is for item control, but you rarely use it.
yeah, no doubt. All right, so for his level one, he's chosen to run four fairies, which seems to be a pretty common strategy.
Yep, just a very staple 1/1 mana echo.
Yep. His other two, his level one slot is seed carry, but he only runs two. Why do you only run two?
Um, Mainly because I only have two, but also it's a defense zone mana echo, and that's not exactly ideal in most situations. You want to be on the offense with the stack. And I usually bring them up to the front using those creature zone shifting cards, like Intuition and the Crow.
Yep, and which we'll get to later. All right. Seems like my. All right, so you don't have any level two or level three. It doesn't seem
Nope.
creatures.
I usually use magical stones for my 2 drops,
Okay.
and level 3 drops I usually do either dual casting, lossless, or I play a few traps like lossless steel, or just go straight into sudden changing season to get a few new cards.
Okay. Or use icons.
Or use this, yeah, or use icons skill.
Yep. All right. So starting at the level four, we run four forest wyverns. I guess my question for you is do you ever find getting two in your hand kind of cluttering or no?
Sometimes I find a little bit cluttered, but you can always use sudden changing season to get rid of extra ones, and they always are pretty useful since in this stack you can mana ramp pretty fast, and it's not too hard to go for like two in a single turn.
Yeah, that's a really good
And
point.
you can jump your damage up quite significantly, even if you only have like a few Canyon Eagles and a Fairy and a Sea.
True.
It's still pretty powerful.
Another one at level four he's got is Predator, which is a pretty common staple in most decks for Syrian. But go ahead and talk about why you run it in particular.
Yeah, Predator, I run it mainly because of Skill Ward. It works really well with another card I have in the deck, Elvish Medium, because it doesn't get destroyed by Elvish Medium. So you can use that to wipe off all your opponent's level 4s, like, I don't know, Master of Mind and Necromancer. Those are pretty good ones to get rid of. Also, Predator can play mind games with your opponent, especially when you have Intuition of Syria. So if you have two, one in attack and one in defense, you can use Intuition on your turn to bring both of them into attack, so your opponent, can't really defend because they don't have enough blockers.
Yeah,
You can also do the same with defending as well.
yep. And then so they throw down just enough defenders, thinking that they can block, and you use that and bring it to the attack for the win.
Yeah,
All
pretty
right.
much.
Another level four you're on is Raging Ogre, and I see that you're on four of them. Am I going into why you're on four and how useful they are?
Running 4 is because of their ability. They are pretty strong, especially in the mid game when you got maybe 6 mana, your opponent only reached 4 mana. You can deactivate your opponent's guys and swing in for a lot of damage if you've got a decent army.
Okay.
So they're always good, and also for a finishing blow, your opponent thinks, oh, they've got enough defenders, so start putting a few attackers out. You use Raging Ogre, they've suddenly got 1 or 2 less defenders, and you can pretty much win.
So that's Good plan.
And also a 4-2, so
That's
it's really good when you're on the offense.
very, very true. All right. Getting to your level 5 slot, you run 4 Forest Guardians. How useful has that proven for you for the extra 1-1?
It's actually very useful because ideally how this deck would get a Forest Guardian out is you use mana echo creatures early on in the game, and maybe by turn 7 or so, your mana echo will be high enough that you can just drop a Forest Guardian out without any of your other creatures in play, and you have a 5/4 on turn 7. Your opponent will find that really, really hard to deal with.
That's very, very true. It's a good point. I mean, you can rush into them pretty quick, so... Alright, for your level 6 slot, you're running Behemoth as one of them.
Yep.
How well has that proven to work for you in the deck?
I think it's a huge staple in this deck. You can, similar to Forest Guardian, drop it out early game before turn 10 because of your mana echo, magical stones. And when you do, your opponent really can't do much because if you attack, you can deactivate blockers to help your own attackers get through. And if they attack, you can deactivate your other attacker so that they can't really attack much against you.
That's a good
So
point.
it's just pretty long.
Pretty good. And if you can get it out early, there's a lot of removal that can't touch it, such as Blow of Judgment or Darkest Shadow from Cade, because they can only hit level 5.
Yeah, too. The only thing that can really hurt it is an Ice Blow, if somehow they seal it, and Fatal Blow.
Yep.
It is probably not going to be very useful for them until they discard they discard 6 cards.
Yeah, especially if you get it out on, like you said, turn 7 or turn 10, they're not going to have enough cards in their graveyard to fuel Fatal Blow, and sealing a level 6 creature is really tough.
Yeah.
Alright, the other 6-drop that he runs is Elvish Medium. Go ahead and give me your thoughts behind that, what you think about it.
I think I talked about it when I talked about Predator. Basically, it's used as a semi-board wipe. You need to get rid of some of the level 4s that people run are just really, really annoying. Maybe Chimera number 45, or Master of Mind, Necromancer, Heavy Infantry of Kelly Division,
Yep.
or pretty much any other level 4
Yeah,
that doesn't have 4. It just kills them all.
Yeah,
so.
like the new one that everybody is really hating on right now, and
right.
sort of sent it out of 3-3.
Yeah,
So,
that one's pretty annoying too. So
Yep.
basically, it just helps control the board a bit better for you, especially since your level 4s are either, like Forest Wyvern, are pretty much one-use creatures.
Yep.
Raging Ogre can be considered a one-use creature if you don't really want to use it for attack. And your predators are protected, so for the most part it doesn't hurt you too much, but it can hurt your opponent a lot.
Gotcha. Alright, getting to your spells now. You run 4 Intuition Assyria. This seems to be pretty much a commonplace in your deck. Do you want to explain how you use it and why it's like such a staple?
Yeah, sure. A lot of the cards that you have in here are they don't really necessarily go into the position you want them to. Let's say you have Seed Carrier or Fairy, right? Early on in the game, you might put a Fairy into attack because you want the mana echo, but if your opponent starts massing attack, you want to put it to defense, right? So use Intuition for that. Or a Seed Carrier, if you want to put that onto offense, use Intuition again. Sometimes you want to put a Raging Ogre in your defense zone because they have a Master of Mind in their attack, but you also want to deactivate a creature. Put Raging Ogre in your defense, next turn pop it back into offense with Intuition. You've got attacker. You can also do it with your predators. You can have some fun shifting them around the board and confusing your opponent too.
Seems pretty good, especially with Icon's second ability. When you bring the Canyon Eagles, you can bring it to the front as an attacker.
That too. Or you can have 2 blockers as well.
Very true, very true. Alright, I also see you run 2 dual castings. Does 2 seem to be the good number for you since it does have Loyalty 1?
Yeah, it's mainly 2 because it has Loyalty 1. If it didn't have Loyalty 1, probably 4. I would probably be running 4.
Yeah.
This proves really good field control, especially early game when you don't have anything else to play. It helps a lot.
That's true, especially if they play like 1/1s or 2/1s.
Yeah.
Alright. It seems like one of the main cards that you run is Sudden Changing Season, and you do run 4 of them. What are your thoughts behind that?
Sudden Changing Season is a really, really necessary card because if you run into a dead draw, you're not going to be getting. You need to get something in this deck, rather than what. Let's say you have a bunch of shards and maybe a few 4 drops, but it's early in the game. You should use Sun Genies and get rid of maybe one shard and hope for something else like a crow or heal casting that you can use next turn. Because there's a lot of situations where you just need to filter cards out that you don't need at that moment,
Okay.
and in order to just get something that you could use right there and then to secure your win.
Fair enough. All right. I also see that aside from changing seasons, you do run 4 lossless steals.
Yep.
How does that work for you?
Lost of Steel, ideally you're using the second ability for it so that you're getting card advantage, helping you basically draw cards faster than your opponent, especially since there's a lot of 1 drops, which is about 8, and then you have your intuitions, and you also have a few 3 drops that you use pretty quickly, and with the amount of mana that you generate, you tend to use cards pretty quickly, so Lost of Steel is there to help balance that out.
Okay.
And give you the cards back that you need.
Gotcha. Makes sense. All right, and then you only run the last 2 cards you run are Magical Stone. I've seen you use this to good effect against me by dropping, turn 7, turn 8 Forest Guardians. How else has it served you, other than playing against crewmates? Has it proved to be pretty useful?
It really is just for early game. You want to drop it on once you have 2 mana, and just use it to mana ramp. Basically, give you the extra mana every single turn to play something big. Late game, it's pretty useless, and usually sacrifice it to setting changing season.
Okay.
So it is useful in that regard as well, but it really is most useful early game. Other than that, it's a dead draw.
All right. For shards, you run Echoes, which are the common staple for Sarian. I also see you run Gemstone of Hopes. Those work out pretty well for you?
Yeah, usually you'll use some with Forced Wyvern to help get you a 1/1 and kill off anything that they have that is even remotely a threat. But yeah, that's the only use that it actually has.
Okay.
Well, actually, you can use it as well in combination with the Crow, since Crow has Whirlwind and it's a forced creature zone change. If you
Sure.
don't want to shift any of your other level 2s or level 1s, just target the seed and it won't actually move. So you can actually play the Crow without any worry.
That's a good point. I know that we talked about earlier about the new shard that came out in 3/3 that gives target creature you control shifter.
Yeah, that one is definitely really, really, really useful with the seed from
Yep.
the gems. But I don't have any at the moment.
Nope.
Fine to put them in though.
Yep. And then the other land you run is Snowfield Border, which seems pretty obvious. It gives you that turn
Yeah.
1, so you don't get behind because you're playing second.
Exactly. You need the extra mana advantage regardless of turn 1 or turn 2.
Yep.
And if you're going turn 2, you always have a mana you're always at a disadvantage.
Yep. And I see you run the standard tarots, except for the Emperor. Mind giving your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Emperor's there because usually for ICANN, once you get into level 2, your second skill is only 4 to cast. So you can use his second skill pretty early on in the game before turn time and just activate the Emperor right after that, so your opponent doesn't have a chance to counter with his skill.
Yep, I've actually found that pretty useful since I run a Neil myself in my Sarian decks, and I have kind of the same strategy. So, all right, well, thank you for running down your deck, Proto. If anyone has any questions about it, you can contact him in game. It's ProtoLOL. I'll leave his name in the link below so you can get a hold of him. And thank you very much, Proto.
Thank you.